Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, and a podcast for you. And this week, we decided to do something about the stress in our life. We decided to do something to help ourselves calm down. Did we do something responsible like seek therapy? No. We did something very irresponsible, actually. We went to a rage room, which is an experience we are now going to be relaying to you and talking about in connection with the haunted attraction industry, because this is a new thing that is coming up, and this was our first experience with one. That's what we do. But if you want to keep tabs on us as we do things like this, check us out. We're Haunt Weekly on Facebook, Haunt Weekly on Twitter. YouTube.com/Haunt Weekly is the YouTube channel. You can also find us on all the places you get your podcast from. And stay tuned, especially to Facebook.com/Haunt Weekly, because we're going to be announcing soon the resumption of some of our live episodes.
Yes.
We had to put those on hiatus for a lot of reasons, but we're going to be doing one, I hope, next week. It's already kind of been planned. And yeah,
we will be announcing who will be joining us
soon at all those places. So, HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, diddly D. All right, every week we ask a question of the week, and last week's question of the week was dovetailed with our episode.
Mm-hmm.
We asked, what kinds of companies did you think were missing at Transworld? Chris Gay, too few photo booth vendors.
I agree with that.
I actually really agree with that. It's a good answer.
Yeah. Victor Ruelas said, other than dipping docks and a cocktail thingy, no food vendors.
I really agree with this one. This, I think, for me, is like the winner. Because when he said that, I went, oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Because you need
right.
you need concessions for your haunted attraction, your midway.
Yeah,
that
where's
you're building.
Cisco? Where's the wholesale food vendors? Where's those companies at hand? Yeah. No, he's got a fucking point.
Yeah, like, were the corn dogs just being sold as corn dogs, or were they a vendor you could actually get set up with your
That was a vendor from the convention center, not Transworld.
Yeah.
Which is what makes that kind of suck worse.
I know, because those were really good. All right.
But also, Craig Watt said wanted real coffee at Transworld. Okay, like we were looking for like vendors missing from the haunted attraction industry. But I feel the point very strongly.
Yeah, there was not a lot of drink selection.
You could get coffee from some of the places that were some of the convention center places.
Yeah.
But, and I don't enter into coffee snob conversations because I don't drink enough coffee to tell you what's good coffee or not, what's real coffee. But yeah, I agree. The caffeine selection was limited. And that was backed up by Pitch Black Hunter, who wanted an energy drink vendor. There was one place to get energy drinks I found. Mm-hmm. And it was in the vending machines that were in the least convenient place for any Transworld attendee because they were right outside the entrance door and I guess also their proxy exit door. But if you went out to get an energy drink, you had to go all the way to the end of the line and come back in.
Yeah.
There was no one on the floor that I recall. So...
Yeah, and I also talked to somebody else, and this is side relation. There was no food provided the first 2 days that they were able to set up booths. So they worked throughout the entire thing without having
during booth
any
setup.
food.
During booth setup. We're not talking about when the actual conference was open. But no, that's a valid point too. I mean, I know one of the cafes outside was open the day we were setting up, and that's how we got some food.
Yeah.
Though I'm using the term food very loosely here.
Yeah.
Yeah, would it kill the convention center to sell some food to the vendors?
Or for Transworld to set it up so that they can.
Yeah, I don't know who's at fault for that, but yeah, that does suck. But anyways, the answer, this week's question of the week dovetails with this episode, and as have you ever tried a rage room or an anger room, a break room, a smash room? Or we're going to get into that in a minute. There's like 8 million names for these things. But have you ever tried a room where you just smash things for fun?
Yeah.
On that note, please let us know. Facebook.com/HauntWeekly, Twitter.com/HauntWeekly, and YouTube.com/HauntWeekly. Leave a comment. Send us an email at HauntWeekly.com. Or leave a comment on Facebook or Twitter. We read everything, so please do let us know. All right, well, on that note, it is an even-numbered episode.
Mm-hmm.
I checked. It means it's time to do the podcast.
The conference reminders.
Thank you. Someone who remembered, who mastered English is in the room.
You got thrown off. Because the first one we have coming up is
Please do.
Fear Expo Live, March 24th through the 26th. In Owensboro Convention Center. It's free admission, but not open to the public. That's in Kentucky. Partnered with HauntCon, fearexpolive.com. I always read it as Olive at the end for some reason, but...
I get it. After that, it's the Spooky Swap Meet, April 29th through the 30th in Los Angeles, California. At the Heritage Square Museum. I have no idea why I just said it that way. It made myself laugh. That's half the battle. Fuck you. It's described as a great place to purchase gently loved haunted attraction and haunt-related items, including costumes and decor, created by one of the co-founders of Midsummer Scream. SpookySwapMeet.com is where you get details.
Okay, and then at Southeast Hollows Haunt Convention, May 5th through May 7th in Savannah, Georgia. At the Savannah Convention Center, early bird tickets are available through March 31st. So
you've still got a lot of time, but
yeah,
less time than you think. At the same time, you know what I mean?
Yes, SEHHC.com for more info.
And after that, July 15th and 16th is the Texas Haunters Convention in Mesquite, Texas, at the Mesquite Convention Center. Not much in the way of details, but look it up at TexasHauntersConvention.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Work we did on our haunt this week, unfortunately none. We got sidetracked on other things.
Basically, we got the house more clean so that it will take stress off of thinking about that while we can work in the haunt.
Yeah, we've been doing some work, at least I've been doing some work mapping out and trying to plan the haunt a little bit, before we jump in and start moving down. Yeah, and one of the things I've realized over the years in doing this is, like, every minute I spend planning is probably like 30 minutes saved working.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's got to be some kind of weird ratio like that. And I know for a fact that once we start tearing down and moving panels, it's all going to happen very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the way it's always been. Like, there were a couple of years there, way back in the early days, we had an empty garage when we were sending flyers out in September.
Yeah.
And in like one weekend, we had the core structure up.
Yeah.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crap be built, like it really was.
Well, the design was crap.
But it was done.
But it was done. So yeah, no work done on this week on the haunt, but we are still pecking at it and are still getting ready to get started on it. It's been a weird month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mardi Gras, and now we had Transworld and Mardi Gras back to back, basically.
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot of time off with no time off.
Yeah, exactly.
If that makes any sense.
Exactly. Yeah, makes total sense to me.
Yeah, so that's how we feel.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the topic du jour, if you will, which is the Rage Room. So what is a Rage Room, or as I've seen it called elsewhere, the Anger Room, Smash Room, or Break Room, or Shatter Room? Legitimately, this is an industry that has not picked a name.
Yeah.
You will find it underneath all those names, and it's kind of frustrating. It's like we kind of know to call it an escape room, even if the game isn't actually to escape.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not an industry term for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of an industry there is right now. There's a lot of people doing it, but a lot of people doing something does not an industry make until there's some organization.
Right, and this seems to be a relatively... It's not new, but the popularity of it has increased in the past, year
or two, I think. Post-pandemic, definitely, yeah. I would say. And one of the things I found interesting is this trend, actually, like escape rooms did, started in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And has been making its way to the United States, kind of in, spurts. Like, Japan had escape games long before we did, decades before. They had whole things like that. In fact, supposedly, a lot of the online escape rooms were inspired by the Japanese escape rooms.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's making its way here in fits and starts, and we learned, I'm not sure, that we actually had one very near to our house, technically within walking distance of our home.
Yeah, that is new.
Yeah, it's a very
is-
new place.
Yeah, that is last like 3 or 4 months new.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, we found out about it. So what are these places? Basically, the customer pays a ticket price to smash things and break things for a period of time.
mhm.
The Rage Room itself provides, and we're just going to use Rage Room, I think.
Yeah,
But if the industry term changes in like the next 5 minutes, we'll look like idiots. But what else is new?
yeah,
You know? So yeah, they provide the breakables, at least
Mhm.
a selection of breakables, the personal protection equipment,
right.
whatever that entails. And they also provide the means for the tools for smashing.
Yes.
That can include bats, golf clubs, sledgehammers, etc. Customer signed waivers, and though I have been extremely anti-waiver in haunted attractions
hmm
for a myriad of legitimate reasons, these waivers might actually mean something.
Yeah.
Because waivers in haunted houses, you're talking about bodily autonomy.
hmm
You're talking, hey, we're going to grab you and pinch you and whatever.
Yeah.
You don't get to complain. The problem is that kind of consent can be withdrawn at any time.
Yeah. And if the haunted house isn't agreeing to those and saying, oh, well, you signed a waiver that we could do whatever, well, no, that's not what you're giving up.
Yeah,
when you sign
and think
waivers.
about it this way. If you and I agree to have a boxing match that's 10 rounds long,
Mhm.
but after round 3, I decide I'm done. I don't want any more of this, so I start to try to leave.
Yep.
And you're like, no, 10 rounds, punching me in the head repeatedly. That's just called assault.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how many waivers I signed agreeing to a 10-round fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's still assault. That's the problem with haunted attractions. Here, you're talking about what the person is doing to themselves and what they're putting themselves into. You're making sure that they are aware of the inherent risks and dangers, which we will be getting into in great detail in a minute.
Yep.
You make sure that they're aware of that, and that way they can't come back and say, oh, I didn't know that there was glass. Oh, I didn't know there was heavy objects or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't
I didn't
do
know
that.
this was an exercise.
It was that. All right. But yeah, now a lot of these rooms have been making claims that they are therapeutic in some way.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time last night actually looking up any research I could find on this, and there's no evidence.
No.
None. In fact, there's the only study that has actually been done and really has any credit found that it increases anger.
hmm
Now, there may be some benefit in stress relief, but that's because it's a deeply physical activity and,
I wonder if it's called this and trying to build in with therapy, and I'm putting that in quotes that you can't see, because of some kind of legal loophole.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm just like,
I-
that sounds like a reason to tie those things together.
Yeah, this apparently is somewhat good for stress, but it's no better than just regular exercise, like going for a
Yeah.
jog, theoretically, has much the same benefit. And the reason for that is because that's actually what is helping here as you were exhausting. Now, that said, fun exercise is valuable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a former jogger. Unfortunately, I had to stop because of health issues. But I'll say this as someone who was a very avid jogger, a member of jogging groups, a member of did jogging things, ran actual races and did shit. Jogging sucks.
Yeah. It really does. It's a lot of time with yourself.
It's a lot of time with yourself, and even if you have AirPods and music, it still sucks. But the reward for jogging isn't until you're done. The idea of exercise that's fun while you're doing it
hmm
can still have value. So that is, I think, the better angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a workout, but you're actually going to fucking enjoy it.
hmm
And I think that is relevant to our experience too, as we'll get into. So yeah, none of that really matters if it's fun. None of the therapeutic benefits, air quotes again, matter if it's fun and if people enjoy it and they want to spend their time that way.
Yeah.
Now,
Obviously, we're going to be breaking things, so there are dangers for rage rooms.
yeah, and we want to get these out there early.
Yeah. There are broken objects in there. including glass. There was a lot of glass.
So much glass. We'll get into that.
Unsafe objects that, like CRT monitors, fluorescent bulbs, batteries, things like that. If it's not
Properly
prepared.
Yeah, I
Good way to
mean,
put that.
CRT monitors
Can be dangerous.
are doubly dangerous, by the way. First, they're dangerous because they often have mercury in the tube.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be breathing mercury because that's literally where we got the expression mad like a hatter. They would use mercury in hat making.
Yeah.
But they also have capacitors in them, which long after they've been unplugged, can store a lethal amount of electricity.
Yeah.
You do not want to be fucking around with CRT monitors unless you know exactly what you're doing. Like laptops and LCDs have capacitors in them too, but we're talking like orders of magnitude difference on the amount of actual current in those things.
Yeah, and there are a couple of restrictions on what can be in rage rooms in California because of this.
That's good. I'm glad someone put restrictions on it.
Yeah.
I obviously Louisiana didn't.
Well, no.
Because one of the worst things you
Go ahead.
one of the worst things you could put in a rage room is anything with a battery in it, a lithium-ion battery in it.
Well, and I think that part of the capitalization of rage rooms is that they're trying to be niche enough not to be noticed. And so they're gonna skate by that regulation in places like haunts do a lot of times.
Well, and haunts have the
it's gonna
benefit of
be-
being a small industry
Yeah.
that's very, very seasonal right
Yeah.
now. Now, that's changing as we're going
It
to get
is.
into a news episode. The news episode coming up in 380, so 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of news about year-round or out-of-season haunts that's coming up. So stay tuned for that. Hauntweek.com, Hauntweek on Twitter, Hauntweek on Twitter, and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know where to go.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, there is that possibility that you're going to hit something dangerous, and the people giving it to you don't know it's dangerous. You don't know it's dangerous because you thought they checked.
You're putting their
customers-
trust in them, and they may be dipshits.
Yeah, exactly. Customers and employees need serious PPE. Yes. Areas need good ventilation, and because there are a lot of potentially dangerous particles.
And like some of it is fairly minor, like if you powderize glass, like we did a lot of.
Yeah.
That shit gets in the air. It's not extremely dangerous. I don't think it's like carcinogen or anything. But breathing a lot of powder glass cannot be good for you.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I would not want to do that myself. And the thing is, like, some of the ways we were breaking the bottles, and we will talk about that, definitely produced airborne powder that did not just, like, fall right back down.
Right. It was
it hung-
spectacular to watch.
Oh, and very fun to feel, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I learned at a golf club, we'll fucking atomize a glass bottle.
Yeah, it was so cool.
That is, like, I've only swung a golf club twice in my life before this. That is fucking sweet.
Yeah.
I'm not
that was
gonna even
really fun.
lie. But, like, I am not, like, I'm pretty sure my grandfather is rolling in his grave at my terrible golf swing. Because he is so disappointed in me right now.
Yeah.
And I know what? Pop, I understand. You're right to be disappointed. But Jesus Christ, that destroys the bottle and powerizes it, and it's so much fun. But then I'm thinking, oh God, it's all here, and I'm like waving my hands in the air
Yeah, exactly.
through it.
Because one of the things that was unusual for where we were at is that it was a small room.
Yes. And it was not ventilated worth a shit.
No.
There was like zero ventilation at all. But we'll get into more about our experience in a few seconds. But basically, the whole point of this section is to understand that these are inherently dangerous things.
Yeah.
And that if you're going to do one, you 100% need to make sure that you are thinking about all the potential dangers there. And dangers to hearing is one that a lot of places don't seem to think of. Obviously, dangers caused by broken objects, including both the size and the weight of those objects and the sharpness of those objects, both. You need to weigh in those. You need to weigh in to make sure that everything in there isn't going to like spontaneously combust when struck.
Yeah.
Looking at you, lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah.
Because those seem to sometimes catch fire apropos of nothing. So, yeah, just imagine how quickly they'll catch fire when they're struck with a golf club or a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to invest a lot into the safety of this. So this does bring us to our experience pretty nicely. And it okay, right off the bat, I want to be 100% clear. We did not go to a quote unquote nice one.
Right. We went to the one like walking distance. We don't live in the nicest part of the city. It's not the worst either, but it's
Well,
not
and the
the
thing about New
nicest.
Orleans that people need to understand is New Orleans is not like a nice part and a bad part of town.
No.
It's very much block by block, street by street,
Hmm.
tiny area by tiny area.
Yeah, but apparently they have one in the McMansion area or the Mansion area of town, near Uptown in the Garden District. If you're familiar with
Yeah,
the
that's
city.
but that's the same company, so
Yeah.
I would not expect it to be any better or any different.
I think you might be surprised.
Okay. But yeah, we went into a tiny little office, and this was weird for me because I have actually had a job in that office building. In fact, I'm trying to remember if it was that office or it was on the other side of the hallway.
Hmm.
I worked in that area, in that building,
Yeah.
on that floor, not far from there.
Yeah, because you would think that they would put the rage rooms downstairs, but no, they're on the second floor.
Yeah. And they are in a regular, not significantly altered
Uh-huh.
office park. We're going to get into a lot of the details of the actual room in a minute, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm
Like-
not sure how they haven't broken their lease with.
Oh, I am 100% sure they have. And I'm going to, so we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, the thing is this, we went to go book online Friday.
Mhm.
And we're recording this on Sunday. We went Saturday, but Friday was our first experience.
Hmm.
And they were promoting very heavily their new location.
Yeah.
Which was Uptown, as you said.
Yeah.
But they only had 2 locations on the actual booking form. The New Orleans one and the Slidell one. Now, Slidell's way far away. I'm not worried about that one at all. That's across Lake Pontchartrain from us. It's across the Twin Span Bridge.
Yeah.
No one's confusing Slidell for New Orleans.
No.
That's what I'm trying to hit at. But there's 2 New Orleans locations because we're in New Orleans.
Hmm.
And they have only those 2 locations. So I was going to call them and say, hey, which one do we pick? What do we do? How do we make sure we're booking at the right place? And then I stone forgot to call them when they were open because they were only open Friday evening. And we happened to be out and about getting sodas and doing a grocery run Friday evening. And realized, hey, we're literally like a quarter of a mile from them. We'll just swing by.
Exactly.
And so we did. And first surprise was that it was really just in an office building.
Yeah.
Like I've seen escape rooms in office buildings.
Yeah.
And that makes a degree of sense because you can actually do a lot with that.
Especially if they're office themed escape rooms.
Mhm.
That makes it super easy.
Yeah. So we knew. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And while we were sitting out in the hallway, just kind of waiting and biding our time and minding our own business, apparently one of the rooms they have was right on the other side of the wall facing us.
Hmm.
And I swear a couple of times I saw that wall bulge out.
Oh yeah.
Like, whoom!
Yeah. They.
Like it was barely contained, like a cartoon explosion that was barely contained. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I don't know what's on that wall in that room because we weren't in that room to break shit. But I really am curious.
Yeah, I am curious too. Because whatever they were doing was, wow, I don't know how this hasn't destroyed the whole fucking building.
Yeah.
This seems like a demolition from the inside out.
Basically, yeah.
So yeah, we were surprised to see that it was, in the office complex. We had the wrong building in mind when we went because there's a lot of little buildings in there. And there was one that was a former Rite Aid.
Mhm.
It actually seemed like it would have been a good fit. You could have set up
Yeah.
little rooms inside it. But no, that wasn't where they were. They were actually in an office complex, in actual offices. And they were badly behind schedule.
Hmm.
I can tell this company has not learned that, okay, if I book a 15-minute experience,
Yeah.
I probably need to have 30 minutes of time
Hmm.
because it's going to take 10 minutes to get me in the PPE, get the instructions, hand me whatever I'm owed, for the breakables. And then 5 minutes to get back out and get undressed and leave.
Yeah.
So I get the feeling like they hadn't figured out that they need that buffer time
Hmm.
between rooms. Because they were badly behind schedule then. And that happened also when we went the next day. So it wasn't like it was a one-time thing. But I gotta say, all the employees we interacted with were great.
Yeah.
The people working there,
Super nice.
they were young people. The one on the first day was a girl. Next day was a guy. But they were all great. They were both great.
Mm-hmm.
They were wonderful, the kind, very understanding, and very willing to help, and very, like I said, understanding of our confusion and patient. Yes, they're very patient with us. Us old fuckers trying to book online, even though they admitted it was actually their mistake.
Yeah.
To advertise the other location and not make it clear. They actually did acknowledge that, but still, they were very patient with us, very understanding, very kind, and they rewarded our patience too in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
They offered us waters, they offered us food.
Yeah.
To sort of bribe us for being late. Which brings us to our arrival on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We arrived, they had a table set up out front, they had us sign a waiver.
Yeah.
We both signed the same waiver.
Yeah.
Just did Crystal / Jonathan and signed. And they said that was fine. And they didn't seem to have a lot of copies of that waiver, so...
Yeah, well, most people sign it online, which brings us to the second problem. I apparently didn't finish the sign up even though the money came out of the account. So I don't know what happened there, but something went
screwy.
Yeah. But
well,
luckily it was a quiet day, so they were able to get us in.
Yeah, it was easily fixed. And that seems to be an issue with the online. So once again, the person working there was incredibly nice and apologized deeply that we were, even though we had booked 4 PL, we were not probably going to be in until closer to 4:15, 4:30 in that range.
Yeah, and that's because they wanted to allow us the most space and be able to do it together.
Yeah. And then they were very kind. They gave us free waters. They were selling waters for $1 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And they were selling pralines, which, I mean, I don't do sweets.
Yeah.
I don't think we've even eaten the pralines. We took them home. But they gave us, food and let us sit comfortably and screw around on our phones for a while, which was great. And then they finally brought us back and put us in the PPE. I was not overwhelmed by this.
No. So, at the beginning, it was a helmet with ear protection and a face shield.
And as someone who has worked on construction sites before, because I used to do that right after Katrina, I had a whole stint in my life there. I spent a lot of time on construction sites. That was a real hard hat. That was a real face shield. And that was really good ear protectors.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand why they have us wear the ear protectors and then tell us, yeah, we'll knock on the door when your time's up.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No, because I'm deaf to begin with. You put actual hearing protection on me, I can't hear anything at all. I'm in my own little fucking world, exploring all the things that are not there because that's all I can hear.
Basically.
But yeah, and the disappointing part was actually, so that part I was happy with, even if my hard hat didn't fit perfectly. I was happy with that part because that felt like serious fucking protection.
Yeah.
The apron they gave us.
Yeah, and then they gave us an apron. And other places do other things. Other places will give you like a mask for breathing to wear underneath.
Yeah. Which you absolutely should. I agree we should. At least a filter mask.
And chest protector so that if you hit anything too hard and it bounces back, it doesn't hurt you in the chest.
Spoiler, that actually happens to us, but not the chest.
Yeah.
A little lower.
Yeah. So yeah, that was...
Because the realization I had was once I got the apron on, we're in New Orleans. I know it's February, but the weather is 80 degrees outside right now.
Yeah.
We both had short sleeves on.
Yeah.
Because, duh.
It's 80 degrees. We thought we would be getting like
real protective gear. Yeah, a suit or something. And we did not.
And nowhere did it
tell us to. Yeah, nowhere
did it tell us to wear long sleeves.
Now, luckily, we were both smart and wore really good footwear. Yeah. I wore my 511 combat tactical boots, which are great, and I highly recommend that brand to anyone that likes boots. It's a good fucking brand, and you wore good high quality tennis shoes with thick soles. Yeah, and both were adequate for the record.
Instead of my slip-ons that I normally wear every day because they look fine at work.
Yeah, but theoretically, we could have rocked up with open-toe sandals here.
I do believe that it says on the site not to wear open-toe shoes.
Well, we did not, and
Yeah.
and I would not anyway because I'm not
No.
a fucking moron. But I'm sure there are fucking morons out there that would.
Oh yeah,
Because we see open-toe shoes on fucking Bourbon Street, and you
Exactly
people
what I
are
was gonna
fucking disgusting.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say, but not quite like with that enthusiasm.
Well, I'm an enthusiastic son of a bitch. We know this.
Yeah.
But no, we did get to pick our music, which was
Yeah.
cool. On the site, it was a little confusing about how the music works, but they just gave us a Bluetooth speaker head. You connect to it,
Yeah.
and we played Local H. One of our favorite mutual band, probably.
Because we hadn't thought of it before.
We
going
literally
in.
and Local H is hard rock. 15 minutes of Local H will work fine. And he gave us the briefest of rule explainers.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even really remember it. I know it happened.
Don't hit the walls.
Yeah, don't hit the walls, which, as we'll talk about, becomes significantly more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, don't hit the walls or don't hit the bare drywall, I think was the actual thing. Don't hit the window, and things like that. So anyways, we got into the room itself, and it was the size of a standard office park office room.
About a 10 by 10, probably.
10 by 15, maybe. I think it was a
Yeah.
little longer on one side, but not big is the thing we're hitting
Right.
at here. And when we walked in, 3 of the 4 walls had a degree of shielding.
Yeah. They had put 1/4-inch probably plywood on
That
them.
was OSB, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I only make that distinction. I don't want Farrell jumping up my butthole when he hears this eventually, because one of our actors gets
Right.
real picky about that shit. And I understand the reasoning,
Yeah.
but I don't want my butthole jumped up by Farrell. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
My butthole is closed for service today.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So yes, OSB, and then one wall that was sheetrock that had clearly had holes put into it because some people either were in there before that rule had to be explained.
Or, as we found out in a minute, had accidents.
Yeah.
Had things not go exactly as planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and to be clear, this armoring, the shielding was not perfect. There were gaps in it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we went to a very janky one.
Yeah.
And I admit that openly here. Because, like I said, we just went to the one within walking distance of our house that's set up in a random low-rent office building not too far from where we live. And I could actually see out of the window that was in that room. They didn't cover the window adequately to prevent me from looking out. So theoretically, I could have just yeeted beer bottles out the window.
Yeah. We're not going to do that.
No, we did not do that. But I theoretically could have. And like you said, there were lots of holes in the drywall. But the biggest thing we noticed immediately was that there was a fuck ton. And I mean an abject fuck ton. As much broken glass as you're picturing right now, double it.
Yeah, there was no clear space on the floor.
There was nowhere on that floor that was not at least in a half-inch of glass.
Yeah, and I will say that I have seen video of bigger spaces where it's all swept to the end of the room between customers. And I think that if you're going to go with something like this, that's definitely a thing to consider.
Because I had the epiphany pretty early on. I was wearing short sleeves. I had gloves. They gave me gloves. I don't think we mentioned the gloves.
Yeah.
I had gloves. But I realized
too big.
But I realized, I was that kid in elementary school that would get too enthusiastic with his baseball swing and then spin around and then fall on his ass.
Yeah.
I was a much better pitcher than a hitter.
Yeah.
I was a very good pitcher, terrible batter. That's what it came down to. And I was so worried about that happening again because if I landed, I had the gloves, but between my wrist and the middle of my upper arm, I was unprotected.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of sensitive shit there. And part of that is I should have known and thought to wear long sleeves, but part of that also is I thought they provided protective equipment.
Yeah.
So I didn't obsess over that part. I just obsessed over making sure I had the proper footwear, which I did not slip, I did not fall. So nothing untoward happened.
Yes, and I was able to stay far enough away from your swing.
And that was one of the problems. It was a small room.
Uh-huh.
So we never felt comfortable, each of us taking swings at the same time.
Yeah, no, it would have been much better to have, with that size room, have one person in a room.
That was a one-person room.
Yeah.
And what they did is they gave us a box full of liquor and beer bottles. And since our appointment got a little fuckered, they gave us a few buckets of extra beer bottles.
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles, basically. We didn't end up using all of them.
No.
For reasons we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, we were given all these bottles, and they provided baseball bats, a sledgehammer, some golf clubs, and a shovel.
Sort of.
Sort of. I think it was a spade from a shovel, but I don't think the handle of the shovel was included.
No, it was broken off.
Yeah. And a few other odds and ends to smash things with. And in addition to the bottles they gave us, the room was strewn with a few other odds and ends. There was random car pieces. I think they were under pieces.
Yeah.
Taken off. They were taken off like the
the firewall.
Yeah, or the undercarriage piece
that
they sometimes put on cars these days.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. It was not something easily identifiable to me as a relative lay person with cars.
Pieces of computer.
Yeah, that worried me a lot. I was hoping they took the fucking batteries out.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about because there are other chemicals and computers you should not be breathing. Chris Gay, I just picture Chris Gay right now sitting here in abject fucking horror.
Yeah.
Chris, if you want to shut this episode off and just spare yourself the heart attack, I understand, man. Please, I don't disagree because fucking first responder is sitting there going, I'm probably breathing into a paper bag or something, hearing all this.
Yeah.
Don't blame him at all either.
No.
But no, they gave us some plastic crates, which that ended up being the star of the show for me.
Yeah.
I've never taken an aluminum bat to a metal crate pour. That was genuinely fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I still think the golf club to the bottle was the most fun for me.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is, like, you don't think about that much, but how much force is in the head of a golf club.
Yeah. Well, and I wish that it had been cleared and, like, you had a little, like a golf tee, like an indoor golf tee, that you could put the little bottle on and then tee it up. Because, add to it a little bit.
And the room was realistically too small to get a comfortable full swing to.
Well, and it was too full of broken glass to do anything with either.
Yeah, it was rough. And the worst moment in it for me was I did the thing where I tossed a beer bottle up and had an aluminum bat and I swung and I hit it. Great hit, great shatter, but the top of the bottle bounced off the armored wall, so I hit exactly correctly. And then ricocheted perfectly to hit me right in the balls.
Yep.
Now, no damage was done. It was more of I got the wind knocked out of me for a second. I had to catch my breath. I wasn't cut. There was no long-term harm was done. I mean, I am glad I already had my vasectomy though, because I don't have to worry about that issue. That's one issue off the table. But still, I realized very quickly though that because that hit with enough force, that came back. It felt like. It reminded me of when I used to play tennis. And every once in a while, when you're playing tennis, you take a hard tennis shot right to the groin. Not that often, only happened a few times, but it does happen. And it reminded me of that. That was the amount of force. Like a semi-serious tennis player hit me in the nuts with the ball.
Yeah.
It's basically what it felt like. I was fine. I recovered quickly. It did not hurt as bad as the martial arts hits I took.
No.
I'll say that right now. But anyways, but I realized that if I hadn't been there to catch that with my nuts, it would have hit the wall and probably put one of those holes in that wall behind us that was not protected.
Yeah.
And that was with me doing absolutely correctly, hitting toward the armored wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did not feel safe as a result, and we ended up not using all the bottles. We had a good time. But we didn't, really get into it. We were too busy trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and I was disappointed that the room was already trashed.
Yeah.
When I walked in. I really thought that this was going to be, okay, you walk into a clean space and then you just break a bunch of crap and, you leave a mess.
Yeah.
I was not expecting basically walking into a room of broken glass.
And I'm going to be honest, it's not a phobia because I deal with it so often, but I do not like broken glass. Broken glass squicks me out because I've had broken glass in my foot. I've had broken glass in other parts of my body that should not have broken glass.
Yeah.
And it's just a feeling that is super unpleasant. And I did not like being that intimate with broken glass that long.
Well, and one of the pieces from one of the bottles that you hit actually flew into my glove because my glove was too big.
I didn't realize that. That
I know.
sucks.
But
I'm glad you were okay and able to get it out. And this is one of the reasons why.
Well, it was at towards the end too. So
Well, it's one of the reasons why we never both did stuff at the same time.
yeah,
We always alternated.
yeah,
Because you would do something, and then I would do something, then you would do something. And that something could be hitting a beer bottle with a baseball bat, hitting it with a golf club, hitting the crate.
throwing it against the wall.
Yeah, I got really good, by the way, at
You
throwing
did.
beer bottles. I can shatter a beer bottle, which is surprisingly an art form. I
Yeah.
learned a lot very quickly there. And by the way, that thing you see in movies where someone smashes the beer bottle in the bar and has a broken piece of shit to stab up. Yeah, don't do that.
No.
That fucking hurt my hand. I'm like, I'm gonna see if this works. Bah! Fucking shit. And then I throw it against the opposite wall, and then it shattered.
Yeah.
But then it powderized. It didn't like leave anything to stab people with.
Yeah.
So yeah, lessons learned.
Yeah, I apparently do not have the right technique for that because mine just bounced off into a bucket multiple times.
It's very similar to whipping, like using a whip, and that you have to have that snap motion.
Yeah. Well, I grew up using whips.
Yeah. Anyway, but we did the 15 minutes. I will say this: the 15 minutes went by very fast.
Yeah.
We did not think we were done in 15 minutes, and I love that he apparently knocked on the door and was trying to get our attention. But since we both had our hearing protection on,
And the music up all the way.
yeah, we did not turn up. We did not set the volume of the music, but they did. We couldn't hear shit. I could barely
No.
hear the music with my PPE on.
Yeah.
And that was loud music, as you noted.
It
Like, you
was.
take it off, it's like, Jesus, Murphy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of fun. I was going in there with the intent of experiencing the experience
Yeah.
rather than being excited about the experience.
Agreed.
I was going there more for this episode.
Yeah, I was anxious going in. I didn't think I was going to have fun, and I was just doing it basically so that we could talk about it and see if this is something for haunted houses.
Yes. We were doing this as research, admittedly.
Yeah.
Neither of us are particularly violent people
No.
that really enjoy this shit. But we did have fun. I have to admit, we had fun. The 15 minutes went by fast. We got to go. We were both dead tired. You were feeling that sledgehammer, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I picked up the giant sledgehammer and took multiple whacks at the car piece.
And I got to say, there is something wonderful for me about picking up an aluminum baseball bat, releasing my inner Chris Jericho, and smashing some beer bottles. There is
Yeah.
something fun about that. I can't explain it, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. So
Yeah.
there was a lot to like about it, and we did it actually. I think we did have fun, and I do not regret the experience
No.
ultimately. But that said, there were things we didn't like.
Right.
We did not like the issues booking and getting set up. That is admittedly to this thing, to
Yeah.
this company and this specific unit. But yeah, that seems to.
And it could just be that they're so new still that they're still working it out.
That was also true. I also didn't like how expensive it was.
Mm.
I mean, I get why it's expensive. I understand why, but it was $50 for the two of us for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So $25 per person.
yeah. Which break out the dollar per minute rule. It still sucks.
Yeah.
The room was too small.
Yeah.
It should have been a one-person room. It really should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I had been in there myself, I probably would have been a lot crazier and a lot more wild.
Yeah, me too.
And I think that's true. I think that's true for both of us. If I do this one again,
Yeah.
I'm booking 2 separate 15-minute sessions, one for each of us,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
because I think that would be much more fun. But the main problem I had was that this one felt unsafe. The PPE did not inspire confidence.
Mm-mm.
There was so much glass on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not like hunting like an archaeologist for the tools, for things to break.
Yeah.
Like, we found the golf club buried in glass.
Yeah. So I did like that. I liked, ooh, there's another thing I can use to break.
Okay, I did not like the fact I had to dig through broken glass because of my issues with broken glass.
Okay, I will agree with that. I think I think my ultimate rage room would be hidden tools. Like, you get one, and then you can
Get the
level
bat.
up if you're gonna find more. A clean room and then either like something that you can hit things off of that's at like waist height,
Yeah.
or yeah, basically just something like that.
Yeah.
Or it looks like a regular room,
but admittedly,
and you just tear everything up.
Everything you're talking about is going to make it like silly expensive.
Yeah, I know.
So that's part of the problem.
I said ultimate. I didn't say cheapo down the road.
Yeah, fair play to you. So would we go again? I answered probably not to this one.
Yeah.
I may want to try a different experience, especially if there's one that's doing something higher end or has a unique theme or a unique concept around it.
Mm-hmm.
I could see doing that. But this one, I don't think so. And the reason is just you combine the cost with the fact we didn't feel safe and the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but I can have a lot more fun for $50.
Yeah, that's true.
I can take that to a movie theater or a bar.
Yeah.
And get a lot more enjoyment out of that $50.
Mm-hmm.
That's my attitude. Do I think am I sad we tried it? No, I'm actually quite happy we did. I'm not mad or anything about my experience, but I don't think I need to go back. And that may also point to replayability, quote unquote, which we'll get into in just a second. But
yeah,
and do a shot every time I say we'll get there in a second, because you can tell when I wrote the notes because I do that.
Yeah, I know, because you know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't, because I do read them and add, but yeah, it's So I am a little bit interested in their other location that's going to be opening because of the car room.
Yeah, that did sound interesting.
Because they are putting a car in there to destroy.
Yeah, that does sound fun. And
I think that was part of my problem with this one, is that their variety of items was limited. Very,
it was
very limited.
mostly
glass.
It was, like I said, mostly bottles, liquor bottles and beer bottles.
Mm-hmm.
The crates they had in there, the car parts, the laptop.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of plates in there that if you dug around you could find them, but
so those were things that people bought and smashed in there, because the night before when we were there, the person talking to the customers waiting, she was trying to upsell them on individual items like plates and things off of a shelf that I saw that you could buy to take into the room to smash on purpose. And so I asked the guy, and he's like, no, there's nothing like that. So I don't know if I misheard the first night or if they were out of things, but, you know.
Well, we're at damn near the end of the episode.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
So we should probably get to the actual fucking point, which is, should haunts be looking and opening rage rooms? Mm-hmm. There are some advantages. It is year-round income. It's relatively easy to set up, and according to your research, cheap.
Yeah, it's like $3,500 to set it up. And if you're already in the idea and mindset of scrapping and going to garage sales and looking for those deals that all haunters look for,
just get for things that shatter.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the things that you don't want in your haunt, buy them for your rage room.
And I would definitely work with local bars too. You get beer bottles and liquor bottles. Well, you just got that look. I know that look so well.
Yeah. A room full of porcelain dolls to break. The creepy doll room.
I would actually probably smash a shell of that personally.
Exactly.
I really would. So yeah, I get it. It can be quick money. It can, and since it's a shorter experience, like we had a 15-minute one that was the shortest it would sell us. We've seen rage rooms online where it's like you get 5 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes. So you don't have to do a 15-minute thing. You can. They were trying to sell us. This is no lie. This company was trying to sell us a 90-minute rage room. I am 43 years old, and we're about to turn 43 years old. My body does not want to be breaking things for an hour and a half.
No.
I did well to be vertical leaving the 15-minute one. I probably could have done a 30-minute one fine.
Yeah.
But I think much longer than that, we're starting to ask more of my body than it is able to do, especially with my knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, this is also a way to keep customers on the property. But then come the issues.
Yeah.
Safety
Mm-hmm.
is the big one. It's going to be very, very hard. You're going to have to put a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of care to make sure customers and staff are safe. Because like me breathing toxic shit for 15 minutes probably isn't that huge of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that dude and those people are there for like 8 hours a day
Yeah.
breathing that shit. And that worries me a little bit. I'm more worried about them. It's very noisy and distracting. Anything happening near it is going to have a bad time. And I say that because there was a tax prep office. You might notice we're in tax season. It was the 200 suite, so it was at the other side of it. It was the far side.
It was next to it.
Yeah, but it was directly next to it. It was on the far side, but it was next to it. They were not having a good time.
No.
With this. So yeah, you're going to struggle to put anything nearby at all. It does tire guests out. It's a workout. It's meant to be a workout.
Yeah.
That is one of the legitimate selling points is you will fucking sweat.
Yeah, and I mean, you could bill it as a monthly workout type thing.
Yeah.
You know? Try to sell it that way instead.
Yeah, but that said, I'm still worried about the quote-unquote replayability of it.
Yeah.
I did it. I don't really feel the need to do it again. I now know what a beer bottle looks like when I hit it with a golf club pretty well.
Yeah.
And I don't think... I've got no more questions.
Yeah, and I think that's because we replayed a lot in there.
Yeah. There was only 1 or 2 types of breakables in there. Yeah.
Well, and it's not in the notes, but you made a very good point when we were talking about it earlier about how it is a power mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically the point I made was that a haunted attraction, the mindset is supposed to be, it's a fear-based attraction. It's supposed to take away power, disempower people, so that when they survive, they feel accomplished for having gotten through this difficult thing.
Exactly.
Where a rage room is the opposite. It's a power fantasy. You're Chris Jericho with the fucking aluminum bat smashing shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a power fantasy. It's a bit like trying to mash up Duke Nukem and Silent Hill.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go together well.
Yeah. Oh, I will say that the other thing that they had there, because they did have 2 attractions, the other thing to do was called Splash, where you throw paint. You splatter everything with paint.
We don't need to do that. Crystal lived that nicely in her college years, getting her art degree. So,
I love the feeling of paint.
Yeah, and it is fun. I can definitely see the fun in that. But A, it was more expensive, and B, it was larger overhead for us because now we got to deal with the fact that we threw paint everywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Hopefully you get suits for that one.
So the thing about it is this. I think there are some haunts for whom a rage room could be a good fit.
Yeah.
Like, I could see it being worked into their, like, if they have that brand.
Like if you're metal branded?
Yeah. Like the original House of Shock.
Yeah, totally.
Might have done well with it. But New Orleans Nightmare, no.
Yeah.
That's not their theme. That's not how they do. And I really worry about what happened with escape rooms.
Yeah.
Where so many haunts and other businesses, for the record, went all in on escape rooms and just completely flooded a market that was not as big as they thought it was.
Yeah.
Not as big and didn't have the longevity they thought it did. It was just so frustrating, and a lot of great escape rooms closed down. Like Rise's closed down.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't sustain it in that market because Tickfall has like 3 people and a goat living in it. And
yeah.
Sorry, Tickfall people. But, they didn't have a population center to really sustain it. Mm-hmm. And that sucks because they were amazing escape rooms.
Yeah. Well, and...
Not that they sold them and moved them, but so you can still play them.
Yeah. And it sucks because maybe if they had been able to, like, pair up with the Renaissance Festival that was also near that town, because Tickfall is not a destination.
No.
It's location. Like, people don't just go there.
No.
So
yeah, no one ever took a vacation in Tickfall that I can think of.
Yeah.
But you're right. The Renfest is also on the North Shore, and it's not super close, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worry about the oversaturation in the market, the same as what happened with escape rooms. I can't think of a haunt near us in Southeast Louisiana that really is a good fit for this.
No.
And I would definitely, if you are going to do this, lean heavily into the upsells.
Yeah.
Things like, have a bar. Don't let intoxicated people go into the rage room, but have a bar for afterwards so people can talk about their experience. Or have axe throwing or have other things, because this is also a short experience too, is part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think most haunts are better off doing escape games, not necessarily full rooms, but games.
Yeah.
Axe throwing, bull riding, things like that. Those little experiences, the little coffin ride thing, whatever, right? I think you're better off selling those things, and also food. Because getting back to our question in week, why the fuck weren't the food vendors at Transworld?
Mm-hmm.
I'm genuinely curious about that now. I've been thinking about that ever since I saw that comment from Victor. It's been in my fucking head. It's a very good fucking point he has there. Mm-hmm. But anyways, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for spending the past good while with us.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate it. Hope you found something in this interesting or entertaining or educational. Definitely, though, take a moment, check out all the places we exist. We're at hauntweekly.com or hauntweekly on Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Stay tuned on the Facebook page. We'll have updates coming soon about an upcoming live show. We'll be announcing it. I've got to do some work on making sure we're set up for it again. But we'll be announcing that hopefully very, very soon. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this has been episode 378 of Haunt Weekly, talking about rage rooms, and we will see you all next week.